Well, in South Sudan, thousands of people who have fled violence are living in a cathedral with humanitarian assistance. Nearby, many more IDPs have sought refuge at a UN site. From WOW, Jill Craig reports that many are thankful for the help, but they really just want to go home.
It's called the St. Mary Help of Christians Cathedral, and right now it's helping more than an estimated 8,500 South Sudanese who have fled fighting around the town of WOW since violence erupted there in June.
The church is like a faith-based organization that also can provide like humanitarian assistance, and in times of trouble, you need to stand by your people.
But St. Mary's, or the Cathedral IDP Center, as it's now known, has become more than just a spiritual home for these internally displaced people who have brought their families to live on the church grounds until they can return home.
I think this is more safe than if I go back to my area, where I have to listen to the gunshots and the night robbery every time.
Helping these newcomers is an undertaking of almost biblical proportions. While the church lends its space, the World Food Program supplies food, Oxfam helps with water, IOM assists with health care, and UNHCR handles general protection. But there are challenges here. Like in many parts of the country, food is in limited supply. Schooling has come to a halt, yet people still arrive.
And the church has no land to expand or to extend a place where the IDPs can go. So we are congested.
But the church isn't the only place hosting IDPs. Just across town is a UN Protection of Civilians site, which hosts another 29,000 IDPs. Although many of them are thankful for the assistance, they say they'd rather be home.
Nobody wants to stay, but because the life there is not safe, that's why we are still here now.
Security is stricter at the UN camp than the cathedral, but some church residents say they're getting help from a higher power.
The belief we have in faith, that we are Christian, we are praying every day. So this is how we are staying here without fearing anything that may happen to us.
The church is hosting more than 3,600 IDPs at 3 other locations around WOW. Despite the challenges, officials say they will continue doing so until it's safe for people to leave. Jill Craig, VOA News, WOW, South Sudan.
We go next to South Africa, where a 60-year-old artist in Troyville, Johannesburg, has transformed an abandoned communication tower with thousands of recycled plastic bottles. The Itemba Tower, meaning Tower of Hope, gives the area a holiday feel and is part of a larger effort for sustainability. Channels Television's Johannesburg Bureau Chief Betty de Beer has the story.
In Troyville, downtown Johannesburg, stands an adorned tower, all of 20 meters tall. It's called Itemba Tower, meaning Tower of Hope in the isiZulu language. A closer look shows what makes the tower outstanding.
There's about 7,000 or 8,000 bottles. It sort of developed into the idea of a Tower of Hope, which I think is quite a nice idea for these times, you know.
An abandoned communication tower in his art space, the Spaza Art Gallery gave 60-year-old artist Andrew Lindsay, fondly called Drew, the inspiration for an installation.
I found this guy called R1, he goes as R1, and he's like a street artist, so he did quite a lot of like interventions. And then I said to him, I phoned him up and I said, why don't you do a little installation? We're having a kind of a recycling exhibition.
The recycling men called Abu Mahereza helped in collecting the thousands of bottles. Drew works with many younger local artists like James Kwena. They create many art forms and host events here. They've mastered the art of recycling. Everything in the gallery is made from recyclable material.
I'm more just a painter, and I've done a lot of, I love ceramics and clay. So yeah, that's what I mainly do.
The granny, I just do it, was my second concrete sculpture, which I was taught by my friend from the Eastern Cape. Yeah, that's given me the inspiration.
The Itemba Tower can be seen and admired from far in Troyville. The community was very much part of the project. In many of the bottles are messages of hope and wishes written by the people themselves.
I see that when they start do it. It looks like funny. It doesn't. We never feel it. They will come to be perfect like this.
Sometimes it makes me happy if I feel down, and it's just great.
The Temba Tar is lit up at night as well. It's the community's collective Christmas tree and a tourist attraction they're very proud of.
If I forget to switch it on and people they shout, hey, why the tower is off today? Now, yeah, people they really appreciate it.
We're living in that society where we just throw things out, and I'm sure we could reuse and make simple things and make our life more efficient somehow as well.
The world would be happier, he says, if we could all reuse what we use, reduce waste, and recycle what we can. From Troyville, Johannesburg, Betsy Dibia, Channels Television News.
Well, now to Kenya, where a teachers' union and advocacy groups are calling for certain private schools to be shut down over irregularities. Now, the schools maintain that they offer affordable, high-quality education to low-income families. Eleni Ruvaga reports from Nakuru.
14-year-old Marceline Mokera visits her former school, a Bridge International Academy located near her home in an informal settlement outside Nairobi. She finished top of her class in the state-administered final primary school exams. She and her father hope her grades will land her in a top national secondary school next year. Nyakundi, a casual laborer, has been paying tuition fees averaging $40 a term.
My daughter, she has done well. I think she will go far to get a better school where she will be able to manage and even to assist me, even the young assistant platters.
Bridge runs around 400 private academies across Kenya. Liberia recently announced it will turn over management of its public school system to Bridge International, but the schools have come under pressure both in Uganda and Kenya. The Kenya National Union of Teachers has called for the school's closure over alleged non-compliance with Kenya's nationally approved curriculum. The co-founder of the academies, Shannon May, says the Bridge schools are on track to meet a January deadline for the government to have at least 30% of the teachers trained on the state curriculum.
There is no negative competition between a community school and a public school, that actually they help improve each other. And that as an organization at Bridge, what we're trying to do is just to ensure that every child has access to a great school, whether they choose to be in a community school or in a public school.
Abraham Ochieng from the East African Center for Human Rights says the schools take advantage of the poor. His organization is calling for them to be shut down.
Is it affordable, really? And versus the public schools, which are essentially free, are they able, and they offer better quality education than this Bridge? Their motivation, are they out to enhance the education, or is it for profit? So until that is very clear, then it will not be able to say that it's actually serving the poor or the people in the informal settlements.
More than 100,000 students from marginalized communities are currently enrolled in the academies across Kenya. Advocates of the schools say literacy levels in the slum areas they serve are rising. Lenny Ruvaga for VOA News, Nakuru, Kenya.
It's time now for a short break. Before we go, a reminder to visit our website, channelstv.com, for all the latest information around the clock. You can also find us at youtube.com/channelsweb. Still to come, in Egypt, the story of an 80-year-old man who is helping people to look beyond religious differences. That's after the break. Please stay with us.